He's such a quiet, understated, relatable guy that he doesn't toot his horn. So all the stuff that he does, if you're not directly connected, you don't feel it. Let the public feel it.
He's one of the people that I see that I know value and respects me as Asue Ighodalo. Not about anything else that is attached to me or me as a person.
If we have 20 of Asue in the whole Nigeria, let's say from each geopolitical area of Nigeria, I'm sure we'll have a great nation. Because to me, Asue is the man. Even if I have to come again to this world, choose your boss or choose your leader, I'll choose Asue.
Thinks his spirit had told him to stand up and go and save his people.
When you see Asue, he's Mr. Clean. Dresses exceedingly well. And you're thinking, in the market, Asue hugging Mama Lata, Mama Elepo. Real, genuine hug with his face. And he's talking to them and he's holding the hand. And I'm wondering, what's happening to this guy? This guy, he's enjoying it. He's changed. He's changed. He's changed. He's talking and he's holding the woman, Mama Lata's hand. Normally we will step back. Mama is smelling of pepper, onions, the smell. You step back. Asue was hugging. God, this guy was made for this.
The way AI will greet the guy at the gate, the way he'll greet the receptionist, you just know that there's no way that this guy is going to be here tomorrow looking for something and this guy will feel indifferent. That treatment of everybody, regardless of who you are.
The refusal to fail, the inability to give up, insistence on, if I know I'm right, I will follow this path. These are all things that I think Asue has, and it has driven him, has made him a success, because you need to follow, you need to go down certain rabbit holes when you believe in something, and you need to be strong about doing that. And that's why I say he's an obstinate guy. He's still obstinately following Manchester United in spite of the fact that they are a failure.
If you can think it, you can do it. If you can work hard at it, you can attain it, you can achieve it. So really, he's the real deal.
I have worked with him in different contexts. And he's very curious about, you say, oh girl, how's your husband? How are your children? He knows my children, he knows their names, he knows my husband. Just saying that this person, I work with this person, but that person is a whole person made up of different parts.
He's the kind of leader who won't say, because I'm chairman of Economic Summit Group, doesn't mean that I don't know from the desk when you register for the conference, the whole customer experience till you start in the hall. I'm sure his people will tell you that, what's wrong with this man? Why does he have to know everything we're doing? But that's the intensity behind him.
Asue can talk to you and you can think that he's best friend because he has a listening ear. Like I said, what he did for me when I was much younger. Asue pays attention when you're talking to him.
If he says it and he doesn't do it, it will only be because it was not possible to be done. But more often than not, 95% of the time, he says what he will do and he does what he says.
With Asue, what he will do behind you or what he will do in private is also what he will do in public. He doesn't have self-contradictions of speech and thoughts.
Hello and welcome to AI Uncovered. I'm sure you're wondering, what is AI? No, it's not artificial intelligence. It is Asue Ighodalo, the current gubernatorial candidate for PDP, Edo State elections. This series has been specially curated to give us an insight into the man, Asue Ighodalo. Not from the perspective of what you see in the papers or what you see on social media, but from people who have known him for many, many years and have worked with him in various capacities. So join us on the movement as we look into who he really is.
He is so relatable that I have to be honest, as a Yoruba man or Yoruba boy that grew up in a military home, we tend to be very hierarchical. But there's something about Egbon Asue that he doesn't, outside the boardroom, he doesn't want you to see him as anything else but, in a funny way, a peer. And it's difficult for people like me when he's saying, hey bro, he's calling me bro. To be honest, he could be my dad, like he's about 20 years older than I am. And it's like when we leave the boardroom, it gets personal. He gets so relatable. He wants you to feel comfortable with him. That's rare in this, in this culture, I find, where someone that you find is in the top boards of some of the best firms, he's very respected. And outside the room, he's dressing casual. He's talking to you like you're his brother. He's coming down to your level. So, and he's helped me solve a few problems outside the boardroom. Let me put it that way. He's a great guy. Without getting into too personal stories, I think I'm going to start from the personal, then I'll go to the business.
Okay.
Actually, not that long ago, I got into a little bit of a conflict situation. It had nothing to do with nothing to do with work, and I was actually in a meeting, and I got a message from Egwan. It's interesting. He was like, he sent a message. He forwarded something because through some of his relationships, he had heard of what happened, and he said, "Tell me about this." It's interesting because, in any situation, there's both sides, right? And then when I got a chance and I had a call with him, and I knew that I had my side, my issues and the role I played in this, it was interesting. What I would have expected from a typical Egbon, Niger, is to first reprimand me and, tell me all the things I did wrong and even even in a way, not even believe my full side of the story. But it was interesting because his approach was very different. He was like, I believe you, I get it. I get your perspective, but let me show you the other side's perspective. But beyond that, he took it to a different 360 level degree. In fact, he was one of the first that told me this. He said, Yomi, you're young, you're bold, you're energetic, and you're go-getter and you fight for your rights. But recognize that you're now an executive in a financial institution. Doesn't mean if you're right or wrong, you have a lot to lose. He said, you know what? No matter who you think is right, just take the steps and just squash it. You can imagine there are times when there are contentious debates, right? For different reasons. Again, and I've seen him do this in many ways. He listens quietly, and one or two things happens. Either his opinion is called in, and often in our culture and an environment, we're used to people siding with the authority figure or at least pandering to them. Yeah. He doesn't do that. But he delivers his view in a way that even the authority figure doesn't feel disrespected if he doesn't agree with him. And the way he does it is he seeks more.
Yeah, because I was young, started work, and he became very involved. Wanted to, and then of course, then I got involved with Wimbys as well, so almost at the same time. But he became very involved, not just in the work I was doing at that particular time, but as me as a person. And so that's one of the things, I know I haven't gotten there, but that's one of the things that he does. It's not always about just work. For him, it's always, how things going? What's happening? So how's your dad? How's your mom? Of course, nobody's 100% angelic. But, when a person is consistent, authentic, he sees people beyond themselves, then it makes life easier. Because if in 25 years, I don't think AI has changed in this regard for how he sees me. Even if I have grown, he's still very, very concerned. He still checks upon you, and he's still very conscious of the fact that he values your time, your person, and so it doesn't have anything to do with age. Brings people to the table, all manners of people, and sometimes, I've sat on the board with him when I'm thinking, how can this, why are we sitting with these people? And by the time he's finished, everybody's his person. They understand where he's coming from. And I'm thinking, that he gathers them together. And that's it's a strong point because it can be difficult. We as human beings are very difficult anyway. And for you to be able to gather, it doesn't matter what level you are, what class, what gender, and be able to allow you to speak. I gave an example 2 days ago when I went somewhere and one of my egbons were there too. I said, one of the things I value about my older uncles or brothers or fathers, and it doesn't have anything to do with blood, is the fact that they allow me speak. AI allows you speak, gives you a voice. And he has always given me a voice. In the 25 years or so that I've known him for, he has always allowed me to have a voice. And if you know where I come from, women voices are not heard. So it's a great thing for him to do that.
There's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts. Ighodalo doesn't have any shortcuts to riches or wealthy or something. That's why we work hard. We work harder. We move from morning till night, not sleeping. I remember when I'm still a boy of 19. I walk, we get home 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock as in 3 a.m.
3 a.m. in the morning. I will boy, sure you go to your house. Okay, where am I going? Let me remain here. Tomorrow we'll start again. We are moving early tomorrow, 6 o'clock. You've not changed your shirt. And this is the only one I have. Okay, wait. This is a t-shirt for you. Go and have your shower in the bedroom. And that's why I call him my leader. For somebody you are working for, asking you to go to his bedroom, go and have your shower, change your shirt, then we'll continue. The second day, till 1, 2, he's still ready because I can see in him somebody that wants me to be. Somebody
that wants you to
succeed. Forgetting my background, my education, my qualification, anything. No. You are a human. You are a human being and he's a human being and he likes you. You can walk. I know he has a slogan that you walk until you don't need to introduce yourself. And likewise, because I've seen the traits and I've been working to the extent that anywhere I go, even some have changed my name from John Opara to John Ighodalo.
Because he's someone that has feeling for everybody. You might just be standing. He observes anywhere he is. If you are sad, he knows. He'll come to you and make you smile. Somebody that makes everybody smile. We're going to Bini. There was a great traffic in that road. And he doesn't discriminate. Do you know what he did that day? He just called a boy selling whether it's pure water, beef plantain chips. The boy took us round one bush. And he's someone that doesn't fear. He accepts everybody, no matter how wretched you are, how poor you are, he welcomes you.
He drove himself down to my village.
Wow.
Where I built my house. Everybody said, who is coming? I said, that's his boss. That's his boss. That's why he's one of the leaders that I would know. One of the leader we have, because I don't want to use the language boss. It's not a boss, it's my leader. We were at around Ayobo going to our area which other ranks build house. It says, John, we are here around 11, 12 o'clock. Where are we going to sleep now? Maybe we'll look for an hotel around the Ikeja. I said, no. How can we go and look for a hotel? Didn't you build a house here? You said your house is around here. I said, yes, okay. Let's go to your house and sleep now. I said, what?
Wow.
Asue Ighodalo going to my house and sleep. John, what is wrong with you? Let's go to your house. I've been a lie, they lie, no build house. I said, okay, I build house. Okay. If you say we should go from Ayobo to my house, it's like 20 minutes because of bad roads. The roads are, let's go now. My wife, me and my guy, we are coming home. I better put on the small generator or anyone that has fuel. On getting to my house, you look around my parlor, okay, this place. And there's a 3-seater, there's 1 2-seater sofa. Just remove his shoe, as I was talking. On the 3-seater, down. Then I got to the 2-seaters. I said, John, go inside, go and sleep with your wife. How can I go and sleep with my wife? When you, my leader, sleeping in my parlor here. Who am I? Let me stay here, anything that will happen. And we were there together. In the next 5 minutes, we are gone. Dead asleep. By 5 o'clock, when the fuel in my generator finished, I said, Ọmọ ilẹ̀ tí wọ́n Jamajo. I was so honored that my entire family, my wife, my brother that we live around together says, hey, Asue Wasibi Wasu. That's one thing about him. Be friendly to everybody, knows everybody, try to solve everybody's problem. I think that's his trademark.
I've seen a few of the videos of Asue in the market in Edo State. When you see Asue, he's Mr. Clean, dresses exceedingly well. And you're thinking, in the market, Asue hugging Mama Lata, Mama Elepo, real, genuine hug with his face. And he's talking to them and he's holding the hand. And I wondered, what's happening to this guy? This guy, he's enjoying it. He's enjoying it. He's changed. He's changed. He's changed. He's talking and he's holding the woman, Mama Lata's hand. Normally we will step back. Mama is smelling of pepper, onions, the smell. You step back. As he was hugging, I said, God, this guy was made for this. I'm not joking. You remember what I've said about that is made for it? But now, campaigning around. There was a time I saw him in a nursing school. I saw him in a boardroom with 12 or 20 young guys. Phoned him later. Why did you bring those young guys in? He said, if you do not reckon with the youth in any society, you are mortgaging the future of the country. So he's going to engage the youth and he wants to hear them. What's paining them? Where does the shoe pinch? And he's going to face it. I was so impressed, forgetting that this is my friend. I was so impressed with him. So wherever he turns to, whatever he touches, believe me, is full of success.
Wow.
So the youngsters should also support him because he means well for them. He's planning for them. He's planning for their future.
Wow.
When we get to an office, the way AI will greet the guy at the gate, the way he'll greet the receptionist, you just know that there's no way that this guy is going to be here tomorrow looking for something and this guy will feel indifferent. That treatment of everybody, regardless of who you are. And this is something he's always done. This is something that he did from back in the day. Not just even folks, you might even say, the security man, he's thinking about maybe tomorrow when he comes for a meeting. But I can remember times we are going to a meeting, one specific one in Lekki Phase 1. We are trying to find location for the place. We can't find it. So we stop an Okada man to ask for directions. And even then, even the approach, even that conversation with the guy, getting the directions, it just lets you know this is somebody who's no airs here, right? That humility is there. And these are things that I'm talking about from somewhere 8, 10, 11 years ago. Not at the time when any kind of politics was in the picture. And that really is who AI is.
Wow.
This is the thing about him, right? It's not eye service. He's not trying to be like a nice guy. Like he actually feels those things, right? Like you'll see him. It's not just that he has a way of greeting people like at the gate and stuff. Like you'll see him at 100 hours beside BNI those days watching football, and he'll be talking to the guy, shine your eye and code there. And you'll be able to tell that this guy is the Oga that owns this place. It's just exactly like everybody else.
He is friendly. And what I mean by friendly is that people are attracted to him. And it's interesting because he is also at the same time standoffish, if you know what I mean. But somehow, in spite of that, he gets on with everybody. He relates with, and when I'm saying everybody, I'm not talking of other lawyers and politicians and so on. I'm talking about gatemen, drivers, caddies at the golf club, the starters. His range of friends and contacts is incredible. So I'm just one of the lucky few that I'm part of this entourage that follows Asue around. I think one of the great attributes Asue has is that he's not afraid to talk to anybody. When you are in his profession and you only eat what you kill, you need to go and look for clients. You need to go and look for people to give you business. And that talent means that you are able to approach anybody and talk to anybody. But you'll still find that many people who are in the same position as him are only willing or able to talk to certain people. Asue has no barriers. Can talk to, as I said, anybody. You know, if you ask about Asue at the gate of Ikoyi Club, or you talk to the caddies, or you go to anywhere he has gone. If you come to the gate of my house, my security guys know him. He's just that kind of person. He has no filters in terms of I can relate with this type. I don't talk to these people. And it's a great attribute. It really is. It's a great attribute.
It is because, like you said, sometimes people are scared to speak to certain people, and he doesn't have that.
Not only it's not even sometimes he's not even scared, and they don't even want to. They're not they just can't be bothered to speak to certain people because I don't need them. I will never need them. I don't even see them. But that's where he sees them and he talks to them. He knows them.
First time that I would say I really met him, we were going to meet somebody to, as because it was a non-profit. So we also got partners who funded us. And I had asked him if he could come with me because my boss at the time was not able to come. And so he called me on the way to the meeting to say he was going to come with me to the meeting. And I said, I don't have a car. Like, I go in taxis and it's yellow taxi. He said, so what? I will go with you. And I think that struck me, like, very profoundly and uniquely. And I'll explain why later. So we went to the meeting. We had the meeting. It went well. And I lived close to his former office at the time. And so on our way back, he said, I'll come back with you. So we got out of the building on Marina Street at the time, crossed to the other side of the road. I was going to flag a taxi and he looked at me like, I don't understand. I'm here, you are flagging a taxi. And because for that time I'd worked with a lot of people who we were sort of arranging things for them, it was a bit unusual for me to see that. Yeah. And he was already very well respected at the time. You knew that he had established a law firm and everything.
Which is, I'm sorry to keep interrupting you because this is yet again one of the many interesting stories we hear. And I'm listening to you, I'm like, 2005. He was already established.
Yeah, he was
you were
established.
just starting out your
and
career.
I was a young professional at the time.
And here is this established senior member of the community who is essentially letting you take the lead.
Yes, and he gave space for me to shine and to support me. And so on that, he flagged down the taxi, sent me to the back because I was going to sit at the front of the taxi, and then asked me to come into his office and said, okay, you've been running this organization. How are you running it? And once I described the structure, he then said that whatever I can and my firm can do to support you, because I'm also part of NLI in my own way, that was his own words, I will fully give our institutional support, finance function support to you, and everything you need to have to be able to fully run the operations and the administrations of NLI. And he did that for the 3 years I ran the organization.
Wow.
So first of all, I felt seen. I felt valued.
And you were young at this time.
And I was young. I was young at this time.
So for somebody that's established to
yes,
see
at the
you.
time, yes. But also what I said about giving me agency by asking me, this is what are you doing and what do you need help with? And then I will then support you with that. So not just coming to say, okay, this is what I am going to do. Now, bear in mind, this was an organization focused on preparing even future leaders for growth and providing value-based leadership. But he also exemplified what we're teaching and what we're getting other people to do. Within the program that he ran, he always took a session on the Constitution. So the second thing for him, which I would always credit him for my own growth, was being able to understand the Nigerian Constitution, how it came about, the provisions, the revisions that had happened, and why it was important for me as a Nigerian in the Nigerian to understand that process, to be able to be an active citizen and a values-based leader in whatever space that I was in. Because most of the younger people that we interacted with, even myself, we had never interacted with the Constitution before. In fact, he would bring in copies of the Nigerian Constitution. There used to be the small green and white booklets, and he would make sure that everybody had a copy of the Constitution, but break it down in very practical ways that even you were challenged. And first of all, you were inspired as a Nigerian, because there was an appreciation and a value of you as a Nigerian. Say, yes, you understand the US Constitution. Most of you have traveled abroad, but you do not understand the Constitution of Nigeria. How can you call yourself a Nigerian? Or how can you even contribute to discourse around Nigeria? And so just challenging me to better understand sort of like the legal framework that made this country and be in a better space of knowledge, mind, influence, context to also be able to engage and understand how we got to where we were to date was, in all the years I'd had in primary school, secondary school, university, I'd not had that historical context as he did during the programs that we did for future leaders at NLI.
Look, I like to think that character formation and character building is very, very early. You know, these are things that Asue talks about upbringing and family. And I suspect that, not that I suspect, I know that his parents, particularly at the time, in the 60s in the Western region, the values, the sort of hard work that people had to do to achieve. The fact that, I remember him telling stories about how there were periods when I think his mother was chairman of Nigerian Airways or on the board of Nigerian Airways, and how in those days people just did what they had to do. They didn't expect anything in return. Very unlike situations today, that we have today. So I'd like to think that upbringing, being brought up at that particular time in our nation's history, but also all of us that had middle class civil service upbringing. We lived in GRA, but didn't live in GRA because our parents could afford the homes. We lived there because that was the house that was allocated to them. And so, so I think that in itself is captures the essence of the man. The fact that he's not going to behave in a particular way because his compatriots or his friends can afford something. If he can't afford it himself, he won't do it. And I think you can see through his life and the business he's built. That he's has extremely wealthy friends, but at the same time also has friends that are working very hard at what they do. But he doesn't choose his friends just because of their status in life. And I think again that's very reflective of where we're coming from, not necessarily where we're at today. So I've known him as a friend, as a colleague, a professional colleague. So I use the word intense decidedly. Why? Because he approaches his life and his work in pretty much the same way. He's, I'm sure the people in his firm will say he's a taskmaster. Doesn't cut corners. Is looking for the best way to deliver the results and the objectives. I dare say that he, as hard as he works and as hard as he expects other people to work, he doesn't treat himself by a standard different than he expects from others. So that's really the quality of the man. So intense is and coming from somebody who is I'd like
maybe
to
equally intense.
No. I like to take life in my stride. Asue is intense. When he plays golf, he's intense. When he works, he's intense. When he engages with his friends, he's intense. But intense with an objective, a purpose. So and the purpose, the objective, the result is to get the best. So he doesn't cut corners, doesn't take prisoners, and that's a quality that those of us that are competitors in terms of our firms do pretty much the same kind of work, and if we And if you ask me, and I would say, who are my competitors that I wish I could be like, in terms of how they drive their people, in terms of the results that they get from their people, in terms of the successes of their businesses. Yeah, Asue and Ighodalo would be very, very similar to the kind of objectives that all of us set for ourselves and the results that we expect to achieve.
Asue is a people person. Asue is so many different things to so many different people. I used to think I was his best buddy, his only buddy. I realized that there were many best buddies and only buddies. So there is nobody or almost no person that Asue will come across and interact with that would not feel some sort of special place and he would not bond with and leave the person thinking that or feeling that this is my personal person. He is like that with everybody, young, old, not so successful, or there's no class distinction. Or you just gave an example of how he chose to spend the night with his driver, and like you said, how many people do that? Old people. Asue came from my mother-in-law's, I think it was her 80th birthday. And she was in the room. And Asue just comes in from Lagos and knocks on her bedroom door. It's me, Mom. And he just jumps on the bed. That's just Asue. Just Asue. Just a great guy. Loyalty. Let's talk about Asue's loyalty. Example of which, when I had a near-death experience, it was Asue. In fact, he was probably the last person I saw before that incident.
Okay.
Because I just dropped him off at home. But it was Asue that stepped in to the gap and just took over, coordinated everything regarding my family, my kids, my siblings, it was almost like a war time situation, the way he just stepped in, and where everybody was all naturally again panicking and what have you. He was just ensuring that what needed to be done was done. Now, how do I know all of this? Because I didn't see it, but I was told by my siblings.
But I guess that's what comes with knowing somebody.
Asue knows how to abase and abound.
What does that mean?
For example, Asue can sit amongst his drivers and eat with them. From the story you've told me before, can sit amongst the drivers and eat with them. Asue can sit with kings and dine with them. So it's to him. He doesn't look at people as if you're low or you're high. And that's what you need for a governor.
That's humility.
Humility. Asue, for example, Asue can talk to you and you can think you're his best friend. Because he has a listening ear. He takes, like I said, what he did for me when I was much younger. Asue pays attention. When you're talking to him, he pays attention so he'll know what Pharaoh needs or the kind of counsel he gives to her. So, and he will not just leave it. It's like a project to him. So his people they're blessed because he will pay attention to each person. So he can come to me now And for some reason, you just want to tell him everything. And you think you're the only person on earth. Until somebody else comes and starts talking about Asue, that when I was in deep trouble, Asue listens and says, so how does this guy do it? Because he's a very busy person. But he pays attention. He listens to people. So that is very important for a governorship for candidates.
What you're essentially saying is, one, he's a critical thinker. And two, he's somebody that has a lot of empathy.
Yeah, he does have a lot of empathy. I mean, you see the way Asue relates to people. Now, that's not to say he's not hard. So he's a very hard person. You know. But, you know, just in the way he relates to people, and not just the high, and I mean, both the high and the low. You know, the way he will relate to his driver, the way he will relate to the guards, the security, you know, it's very simple, unaffected, you know. I mean, many times, hey, bring that ekpa in your hand, and you know, and we'll chew the groundnut along with the megad, not just security guard. That's you know, when we had malams, you know, we relate to them just as well. No,
sounds like an
you see,
oxymoron.
he is an oxymoron because he looks very, when you see Asue without having heard anything from him, he looks very stuck up kind of thing, you know. And then he'll suddenly disarm you with his sometimes
charm.
Yes, sometimes you think he's doing it deliberately, but you know, having seen it over and over in the years, I know that it's not put up, you know. It's part of character. It may be an oxymoron, as you say, but it's also inbred in him.